เอาละค่ะต่อไปนะคะเราจะได้มาแลกเปลี่ยนประสบการณ์ในเรื่องของระบบนิเวศของสตาร์ทอัพกันต่อนะคะกับการฟังบรรยายในหัวข้อของ A Boost from the Australian Startup Ecosystem ซึ่งวันนี้เนี่ยเราก็ได้รับเกียรติจากท่านวิทยากรนะคะมิสเตอร์เดวิดบอลลิเกอร์ General Partner Interworry Ventures Pty Limited AI Human LP จากออสเตรเลียนะคะ May I invite Mr. David Bolliger on the stage ขอเสียงปรบมือด้วยค่ะ
Sawadee Krap. It's very good to be here. My name's David, and I'm a general partner, as just introduced, of a $200 million fund that we're raising in Australia. We're looking at the very best machine learning startups we can find, and we're finding some fantastic companies in Australia and elsewhere. 80% of our investments will be in Australia, but 20% of our investments can be outside of Australia, and that could include Thailand. So my partners have already given me an in-principle agreement that if we find things in Thailand that we think are credible, then we will invest in them. Over the past several years, I've travelled a lot in Southeast Asia to all the major cities, and I'm pretty much every week going to one of the Southeast Asian cities. But my favourite city by far is Bangkok, and I spend as much time here as I can. And my favourite country is Thailand. In my view, Bangkok has the potential to be the very best city in Southeast Asia, and in some departments, for me, it already is. Your culture has a uniquely relaxed feel. You have a low cost of living and a tremendous dignity that prevents you from becoming merely puppets of Western agendas, and I respect this. Thailand is unique. It's spiritually rich, and I count myself very lucky to be able to spend a lot of time here and to form relationships here. Thailand is already in my heart, and it's from my heart that I'm speaking today. I don't want to give simply a boring talk about money and investments and returns. What I want to do is talk to you briefly about why investing in your most creative people is essential to protecting the future of Thailand and to staying in control of your destiny as a nation. Together with your most creative people, it will be your best engineers that can protect Thailand and ensure a great future for your children. There is a massive wave of change sweeping our planet, and in my job, I get to see the technologies that are coming. None of us, to be honest, know where any of this is leading. What is happening is that machines and machine learning are now proving that human labour can be replaced in ways we never thought possible. It has been said that while the industrial revolution created the working class, the AI revolution might create the useless class. What this means is that there will be a growing demographic of people who have no economic value and nothing to contribute to the process of a modern economy. Therefore, nations which do not keep up with technology may soon be totally at the mercy of the more technological nations. Powerful global forces who own the robots and control the artificial intelligence will form trillion-dollar companies that may own and produce everything. This is a very strange image from Google's DeepMind machine learning software. It is a surreal visual insight into how DeepMind learns how to recognize patterns. For now, this image is just a weird result of algorithms run backwards. But I see it as a powerful symbol of what has begun on our planet, this planet that we all have to share. Artificial intelligence can now recognize patterns that even humans cannot see. Unfortunately, all around the globe, our whole education system has been based on training people to recognize patterns and do repetitive tasks. This means that any task that is routine can now be done by a machine better than it can be done by humans, if not now, soon. We are not just talking about manual tasks, this also applies to intellectual tasks such as legal advice, project management, and many professional roles, and to some extent all professional roles, because professionals are experts and they are, in a sense, an expert system, and we're finding out that machine learning can crack into the human expert system and do a better job of it. So let's think about two concerning examples for Thailand, not to create fear, although they are a bit frightening, but rather to inspire us to solve problems, to face the future with courage. All around the world, being a driver is the #1 employer of men. But already there are self-driving cars and drones. None of this is science fiction anymore. This is already real. The speed at which these developments are taking place is frightening. What will happen to all the men and women who are currently drivers? What will they do when it is much cheaper and more convenient to use a smartphone, call an empty tricycle that uses satellites and finds you the fastest route with no driver involved? Countries like Thailand have a difficult choice. Do you join the change or do you resist it? If you join the change, millions of people will lose the jobs they currently have. But if you resist the change, the nation will lose its relevance and its ability to compete in a strange new world. My own view is that you have to embrace the change. But this means you have to prepare your young people for an entirely different world to the one we all know today. You will need thousands of new engineers to master the new technologies. Otherwise, you will become a nation dependent upon foreign expertise. We in this room are well educated. We are the fortunate ones. Thailand has at its core brilliant people like you. With polished international experience, you're able to listen to me in English, and you know what's going on in the larger world, and to some degree you know it better than many. This room is full of forward-thinking people, and I'm honoured to be able to address you. But we all know that Thailand also has a huge demographic of less educated people, of agriculturalists, of warm-hearted village people who are living simpler lives. So I think it's our responsibility to think, what will the lives of these people be in the future? How do we make sure everyone has a meaningful role to play in society so that society itself remains stable? Great social dangers are ahead of us all, and we cannot hide from them. Thailand's future might well come from startups, and I think it will come from startups. These startups have to come from creative people, from engineers, and I suggest from a new approach to education which emphasises teamwork around creative leaders. Creative people have a genetic disposition. They think fast across categories. You can't necessarily teach somebody to be creative in the way that I'm referring to, but you can certainly find them and support them. All repetitive behaviours are now vulnerable to being replaced by robots and artificial intelligence. We need somehow to lift everyone up together into a new relationship with technology and a new kind of society. As a second example, let's think about agriculture. In Thailand, you still have access to low-cost labour. This is how you compete. Because of the low-cost labour, many people assume that automation is not important here. But I suggest to you, and sadly, this is wrong. Just like self-driving cars, digital agriculture cannot be avoided. Those nations that best automate agriculture will have the highest quality produce for the lowest cost. It's not just about replacing human labour. It's about efficiency at every level. It's about disease-free, delicious food produced locally at lower cost than importing it. The impacts to agricultural economies are going to be massive. Food production will become decentralized. For Thailand to continue as an exporter of agricultural products, it will need to compete with the very best means of production available in the world. If you do not have the engineers, then it will be foreign interests that control these means of production. Otherwise, the production will simply take place elsewhere. The best engineers in the world do not come from any one nation. They learn from all nations. The best entrepreneurs in the world are global people. Silicon Valley is a melting pot of the best problem solvers in the world. It's those people that all the deal flow that makes Silicon Valley what it is comes from, and that creates a virtuous cycle. Following this model, I suggest the only way forward for Thailand is to attract the best minds here and to become a global player, an attractive place for the best skills to come and transfer their knowledge to your community. We have a recent example of a brilliant collaboration between the best people in Thailand and some of the most skilled people in the world for the problem. When the young boys were trapped in the cave, the whole world watched. The whole world wanted to help. Thailand coordinated one of the most complex rescue missions ever seen. This was an example of a strong Thailand bringing in technological help and skills, but on its own terms, with its own leaders. In the end, Thailand was the hero, and the foreigners were just the welcome guests. The whole world now loves Thailand even more than it already did. The incredible result at the cave was due to brilliant engineers. This is a perfect model for how to grow your startup ecosystem. Bring in the best experts you can. Learn from them. Bring the whole world's knowledge and master it. This is how every strong ecosystem in the world works. We are living in an interdependent time. Inward-looking nationalism has become a danger to itself. Somehow, without losing your beautiful sovereignty, Thailand needs startups that can rapidly embrace global teams and global expertise. The very best teams are the teams that the government needs to support, I suggest, in a coordinated strategy of knowledge transfer into Thailand. So, today I want to talk to you about one specific global opportunity where I hope I can be of a small help. I've called this talk A Boost from the Australian Startup Ecosystem. This slide that I'm showing now is very important for understanding the significance of Australia in the current moment. On the horizontal axis, you can see a measure of how innovative the country is, based on how many patents are granted per capita. The vertical axis shows that Australia has a lot less investment than America, but is suddenly increasing. So the companies are still great value for the investors, and Australia's innovation ecosystem is starting to boom. You can see on that graph that Australia is more innovative than some of the nations that you might think of as the most innovative. Although personally I was born in East Africa, I was educated in Australia, and I also have a Swiss passport. So I'm fortunate to live an international life. Therefore, when I talk to you about Australia, what is on my mind is not how to benefit Australia. Australia is doing fine. It's a rich country. It has a great ecosystem. The only thing on my mind as I speak to you now is how to benefit Thailand. How can we who love Thailand bring benefits from Australia? The goal is not to profit Australia. The goal is to profit Thailand. I want to point out that Australia is in a very similar time zone. Certainly Sydney, Melbourne, Queensland are only a couple of hours different to Bangkok. This has enormous significance for collaboration. The last thing that works in startup collaboration is being woken up in the early hours by Americans. In my role as an Australian VC, I get to see all the best new companies. These include fantastic new medical technologies, drones, infrastructure, and precision agriculture. The companies are world-class. For example, SoftBank recently did a deal in robotics with Queensland Government. The partners of our fund in Australia include very eminent Japanese investors, one of the largest banks, lots of powerful groups. But because I love Thailand, I'm concerned for Thailand, and every time I see a new technology, I ask myself, could we bring this here? How can I leverage this opportunity for Thailand? Thankfully, I already know several brilliant Thai engineers, at least one of whom is here today, and we've become friends. Together we have an idea. We are already working to start a new organisation which we call Southeast Alliance. The vision we have is to attract the best private sector engineers to Bangkok from places like Vietnam and Indonesia and Philippines, and to create knowledge transfer into Thailand through world-class companies to create new employment opportunities for the very creative people who need to be given the chance. When I listen to a lot of what is happening in the Thai ecosystem, I notice some confusion about what it really takes to create a successful startup ecosystem. So I say this humbly, but this is a serious point. There are lots of buzzwords such as community and ecosystem and incubator and accelerator. And while all these concepts matter, I want to suggest to you that actually the thing that matters most is deal flow. Let me highlight this in the following way. My company in Australia will invest in about 30 startups over the next 5 years. To find those 30 startups in Australia, we will evaluate thousands of companies. Our typical investment size will be about $4 million US, a Series A investment into each company. So for us to invest in Thailand, if I speak objectively, we need to see hundreds of companies, of which several are obviously worth investing millions of dollars into. Where are these companies? How do they compare to companies in other parts of the world? How can a global investor justify the risk? Where is the deal flow? Without very attractive deal flow, the ecosystem can never break through to the next level. But if a global investor won't invest in this environment, how can the deal flow ever increase? It seems like a circular problem, impossible to solve. But startup problems are always circular. Somehow, by any means possible, startup people have to find a way to jumpstart the process. For those of us in this room, this is our job. For the government departments, this is the mission impossible, should you choose to accept it. Jumpstart the deal flow. The goal is to turn a circular problem into a virtuous circle. This slide explains the virtuous circle of the Australian ecosystem right now, and this is why Japanese and other interests are investing into our fund, because they've done very deep due diligence to make sure this is actually true. You can start with any one of these four points. It's a circle, not a list. But starting at the top, more and more funds are being raised for Australian startups. More than $1 billion will come into these startups in the next 2 years. But even with this enormous amount of money, it's not enough, and that means that many high-quality startups still remain very attractive to invest in because there's not enough competition to inflate their prices. In fact, Australian companies, on average, the ones we really like, are 30% cheaper than their equivalent in China, and they have unique technologies developed in a regulated environment. This benefit of not being saturated, of not having enough investment, can work for Thailand also when Thailand gets to the next level, and that's what the Jumpstart has to be about, in my opinion. With more money, entrepreneurship increases, and that leads to more deals. With more deals, there are more successful exits, and investors get rewarded. So they invest in more startups, and the circle turns round. In Australia, it's not uncommon now to see $300 million, $400 million, $500 million acquisitions of quite early stage companies. And there have been ICOs on the NASDAQ, above $4 billion. To all the good government people in the room, I say to you humbly, this is how to stimulate an ecosystem. If you would like help from Australia, the chairman of my company Intervalley, Doran Ben-Meir, is the man who architected large parts of what is succeeding in Australia for the Australian government. He came in and fixed what was broken in Australia 10 years ago. Doran has told me, yes, we could set up an in-depth workshop with him in Thailand and see what lessons we can learn from Australia that could help Thailand. We could put all the directors of all the startup agencies around one table, and Doran could facilitate lessons learned, what mistakes we made in Australia, and how we fixed them. Having said that, government is only one enabler in any healthy ecosystem. Startups, by their very nature, are private sector entities. This is where our vision for Southeast Alliance comes into the picture. With my Thai partners, we've come up with one compelling idea that I want to share with you today briefly, and I hope that there are others in this room who would like to support our plans. We do intend to make a lot of money, but we don't have to do that in Thailand, and so this is not about money. The only reason we are focusing on Thailand is because we love Thailand. We are looking for other powerful people who share our vision. What we're planning to do is find the best medical, agricultural, and infrastructure startups in Australia and get exclusive rights for Thailand, so that we can quickly build several Thai companies around advanced Australian technologies. Now, these discussions have already begun. These companies will not be owned by Australia, rather they will be largely funded in Thailand and free to evolve and adapt to the Thai reality. We may also be able to get the rights for other countries in the region and expand to these countries from Thailand. So the profit centre will be Thailand. This way we can build teams of Thai engineers who rapidly learn the advanced technologies, gaining startup skills that may otherwise take decades to learn. If there are enough Thai investors willing to back these ventures, then quite quickly we can build a showcase of a new type of startup in Thailand, deeper technology. We can catapult the best Thai engineers into the most challenging situations, and then the next generation of young Thai engineers will have more role models, more inspiration. If the Thai side will back these ventures, and if the Thai government will back these ventures, I'm confident we can easily bring other foreign money into Thailand. Dollar for dollar matching is how both Israel and Australia turbocharged their ecosystems, but it has to be done in a very intelligent way so nothing is wasted. We already have one high net worth Australian in this room willing to invest in Southeast Alliance. We have had a good conversation with a Thai venture capitalist who has indicated that he will probably match that level of investment. And that gentleman is a Silicon Valley-trained VC, but he's Thai. We have another Bangkok-based venture capital firm in discussions, and that just started last week. As well as the private investors, I've already talked to the highest levels of one of Australia's most forward-leaning states. And it's possible for us to set up a state lunch or a business lunch in Australia to discuss the project with the head of state of this particular state, where governments in both nations, through this particular state, could forge an agreement to commercialise technologies. But this will only happen if we can form a compelling story on the Thai side. The Australian side is willing to listen. It's ready to listen. Most of the Australian companies I see are connected to excellent Australian universities. So the opportunity is also to connect the new Thai companies to Thai universities with some synergies with Australia. Ultimately, we need the Thai private sector to work in harmony with Thai innovations spun out of Thai universities. The goal is not to stop with Australian technologies, but simply to turbocharge Thai technologies that are coming. In the process of funding and building these companies, we want to attract the best engineers from Singapore, Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines. This will also improve the English literacy of the Thai teams, enabling greater global participation by the engineers. So look, I can give you 5 examples. I'll just take a sip of water if you don't mind, but I can give you 5 examples of companies we're talking to. One company that we're already talking to a major agricultural company in Thailand about is an agricultural robotics company. Last year in America, John Deere bought a company called Blue River Technologies for $300 million. In Australia, we've identified a company that, like this company in America, is a weeding robot. Now, some of you may know that one of the problems in agriculture now is that the weeds are becoming resistant to the herbicides, and so you need more and more poison in the ground to handle the weeds. Well, this company in Australia has a technology that's 12 times faster than the machine that John Deere just bought for $300 million, and it reduces herbicide use by 90%. And in the next generation, it doesn't use herbicide, it uses microwaves to kill the weeds. So this is the future we're talking about, right? You have robots making high-resolution images of fields, understanding crop health, picking out the weeds, microwaving the weeds, and all of this is done with a 90% cost reduction. That's one company I know for a fact that the young team of scientists are willing to come for an entire season in Thailand, work with a Thai agricultural company, and calibrate their machines for the Thai pain points and develop a Thai company. I also know for a fact that I can get government support from Australia for us to do that if we can get the Thai side working. Another example of a company that we could bring here is a drone company. It's not really about the drones. As you may know, cell towers have to be maintained, and so helicopters fly along the cell towers for your mobile phone and other, gear. And some guy leans out of the helicopter and he says, "Oh, I think that's all right," or maybe there's a problem there. And so it's a hopeless way of maintaining cell towers. And when I think of Thailand, I think of your truly unique power lines. Nowhere in the world, perhaps, have I seen such impressive bundles of wires. Now, what this company in Australia has is they put a drone resident, so it lives on top of the cell tower. All you have to do is press a button. The drone flies a pattern around the cell tower, makes a high-resolution image, and then the artificial intelligence is so accurate, it can tell you if there's a bit of rust or if one wire is frayed. We could potentially roll this out all across Thailand as a Thai company with an exclusive from Australia. Another company that I and my partners who are here, we really like is a drone insurance company. So as we move to self-driving cars and swarms of drones, and there's going to be lots of insurance claims. So this company in Australia has innovated a fantastic insurance product on your mobile phone. If you're about to do a drone flight, you just punch in the numbers and a few things about the route, you're instantly insured. If the flight has a camera, that's captured into the software. If there's an incident, the company pays you your insurance payout, no questions asked. This is a by-the-minute insurance policy, right down to the tiniest drone, right up to the biggest drone. I'm confident we could get a business started here with that Australian platform. There are a number of telemedicine companies. I won't talk about them now because time's short. There's also a very high-tech artificial intelligence-driven system for unifying databases across one hospital to break down the different silos that exist in a hospital that make it difficult for logistics to improve because the machine learning can't see the logistics. So this brilliant solution lets the machine learning see the logistics. We already, however, have one company cooking in Thailand, I'm very happy to say, and that's my own. So I was fortunate to meet these great engineers, and I said, well, do you think you could code for my company in Thailand? Before we got too far ahead, I put them through a number of tests, and I was very impressed by the way in which the leader of this company is coding my project. And so the next step will be we will actually incorporate a company here in Thailand, and this is an education platform. And it's not public yet, but I'll tell you it's called PlayChat. And we think of it as 2 steps ahead of what currently is being done in the education world in things like Coursera. It's a very humble beginning, but it has a very long way to go, and we already have substantial investment for it. So the parent company will be outside of Thailand, but exactly as per the model I've described to you, we plan to have a company in Thailand that is a profit center designed to build Thailand. So look, thank you very much for the time listening today, and I really hope that we can bring something to the ecosystem from Australia. I think you're poised to do fantastic things here, and this event represents a new step and a new stage, and I'm very proud to be part of it. Thank you.